Andre Woodson, Robert Traber, Willie Medina, and Joseph Sokolovic. We have no members of the public has submitted a request for public comment. And so we're just going to move on to the first item on the agenda, which is the final evaluation presentation by the superintendent, Dr. Carmela Levy-David.
Good evening. I'm going to share my screen right now and begin. Madam Chair, you need to request to go into executive session. No?
The superintendent evaluation?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a motion to go into executive session? Let the record reflect Albert Benahan is here.
I'll make a motion.
It's been moved by Mr. Woodson. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Ms. Perez. We're in debate. Is there any debate regarding this item? Hearing none. All in favor of going into executive session for the superintendent's presentation, say aye.
Roll call.
Aye.
Roll call vote.
And it's been a move for a roll call vote. Madam Secretary, can you take the vote?
Christine Baptiste Perez.
Yes.
Albert Benahan.
For Thursday's
No.
meeting, Lisette.
Somebody's okay. Albert said no. Willie Medina.
No.
Joseph Sokolovic.
No.
Let the
Robert
record
Traber?
reflect that Akeisha Casimir has logged in.
Robert Traber.
No.
Akeisha Casimir.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the motion?
For executive session. For the superintendent's evaluation.
Yes.
Andre Woodson.
Yes.
And Jen Perez will go with yes. That's deadlock, no.
I'm sorry, but my contract stipulates that this is my choice. So this vote does not supersede my contract.
Yeah, it is actually in her contract, guys. And so it would invalidate the entire means of this process not to have it in executive session.
Hold on.
So
Okay.
I'll move.
Well, hold on. I'm trying to raise my hand, but I can't find it. I'm stuck on my phone.
Okay.
So excuse me.
I'll acknowledge you, Mr. Sokolovic, because at least
Thank
you said you're trying to raise your hand.
Oh, there it is. Yes. Can we read out the exact language in the contract? Because the contract says the evaluation should be done in executive session. I'm not opposed to going to an executive session to discuss anything displayed, but I'm to understand we're only going to be getting data with which to base our evaluation on. And if you read the language of the contract, I'll see if I can bring it up on my phone. It would be beneficial to get an actual read of the verbiage. Let me see.
I have it.
Could you please allow Mr. Traber to read the language out, please?
One second, I'm pulling up a copy of the contract. All right, Mr. Traber, you volunteer to read out loud?
I would be happy to. I just said I had it in front of me. If you want to read it, if you pulled it up, I'd be happy to let you defer to you.
Nope, I just want to read along.
Okay. I'm reading subsection B under evaluation, I believe is what the superintendent is referring to. Are you with me?
Yep.
The board shall evaluate the superintendent in executive session pursuant to the evaluation format at least 30 days prior to the superintendent's evaluation. The superintendent shall provide the board self-appraisal using the evaluation format instrument, and the board shall take the self-appraisal into consideration in conducting its evaluation of the superintendent. A copy of the board's evaluation shall be delivered to the superintendent within 30 days of its completion, and the superintendent shall have the right within 15 days after the receipt of the board's evaluation to make a written response to the evaluation, which shall become a permanent attachment to the superintendent's personnel file. Within 30 days of the delivery of the written evaluation to the superintendent, the board shall meet with the superintendent to discuss the evaluation. I believe that's what the superintendent is referring to.
If you can take your hand down, Mr. Traber, so that
No,
we could just.
I have a comment. I was just offering to read. So I have a comment on this discussion. So I'm holding my hand up for when you call on me.
Okay. I'm going to go back to Mr. Sokolovic.
Yes, thank you. Okay, as Mr. Traber just read, the contract explicitly states that the superintendent is to provide the board a self-appraisal before the evaluation, which separates it from the evaluation process. This is not part of the evaluation. This is what we are basing the evaluation on. And we are now with this self-appraisal before her evaluation. The language seems pretty clear to me. And to note, past precedents on this board is for the prior two superintendents, Alicia Perrin and Superintendent Testani, both gave their presentations in the public based on data and such. And then afterwards, we went behind closed doors. I would be open to going and discussing anything about the evaluation, about the presentation that is relevant to be discussed and critique or praise or critique in executive session. The discussion about it, sure. But based on the data, I think the public's going to see the final result, and the public's going to see what we're basing that final result on, and the public will have much more faith in the evaluation we provide with open transparency. Thank you. See, I'll put this down now.
Mr. Traber.
Yeah, and I would add to that. I agree with what Mr. Sokolovic said. And my recollection is that at last week's meeting, it was pointed out to me that we were voting on the CABE evaluation. And it was the same one that had been presented to us at committee. And when I tried to raise whether or not what Ms. Casimir had sent us on Memorial Day was the same as what had been at committee, I was assured that it was. I hadn't had a chance to compare them. So I'm looking now at what was presented to us at committee. And on page 4 of that packet is a recommended evaluation process and timeline flow chart. And in the May-June section of that time chart, step 1 says the superintendent presents a year in review self-assessment to the Board of Ed regarding his or her performance. Step 2, the Board of Ed evaluates the superintendent's job performance. A draft evaluation is developed during this meeting in districts where a written evaluation of the superintendent is provided. Step 3, there is a meeting in executive session between the Board of Ed as per Board of Ed policy and the superintendent to share and discuss the draft evaluation. So that's at step 3. We're at step 1 where she's presenting her year in review self-assessment. That is not an executive session. So this is the part where she presents to us her year in review self-assessment, and that's in public. And that's the way we've done it with the 2 previous superintendents, as the minutes show. So that's where we're at. That this is not the evaluation. This is the year in review self-assessment. So it seems to me consistent with her contract. Step 3 is when we go into executive session to discuss the draft evaluation.
Okay. The motion has failed to go into executive session. Dr. Levy David, are you ready to present?
I am reinstating my request to present an executive session. When we had the training from Kay, it was made very clear that that is my choice.
Is there any other comment from any other board member?
I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
There's been a move to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Roll call,
The ayes have.
roll call.
Roll call vote.
There's a roll call vote for the termination of the meeting.
Christy Baptiste Perez,
Adjourn.
Andre
Why are
Woodson.
we terminating the meeting? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mr. Medina, I'm doing a roll call. Andre Woodson,
Adjourn.
Robert Traber,
I vote not to adjourn and wish to express the
Willie
reason
Medina.
I vote that way per my right under the Roberts rules.
Willie Medina,
I vote not to adjourn.
Akeem Casimir,
Adjourn.
Albert Benahan.
Physically,
Not to
and
adjourn.
then upload.
Can you mute whoever's not muted? I missed somebody. Joseph Sokolovic.
No,
I'll say yes. So half and half. Fails.
I'm going to call a stand at ease, which is the equivalent of a motion for recess.
I object to the stand of ease. The stand at ease needs unanimous consent, which could be implied, but it's not implied since I made a. If you want to call for a recess, you could call for a recess and take a vote.
Madam Chair, you can't just disappear.
Now we find out why they wanted to do this online only.
Well, we're still broadcasting live.
Right. Yeah, well, we're probably furiously trying to find a fifth vote by calling people up and get them to the meeting so we could adjourn so we don't have to do things publicly.
Willie, you can speak.
No, my question, because I had my hand raised and it wasn't
Why are we
recognized.
adjourning?
Why we're adjourning, but also with everything that was explained and reading of the contract word by word, how can any other interpretation and including the extra material from the CABE evaluation that states that we're in step 1. So I don't understand why the superintendent does not wish to present at this moment or even to give us a presentation prior. I'm just wondering, and there was, to my knowledge, there was no set information on public comment. So it wasn't even, part of the agenda. Public comment wasn't part of the agenda. They never gave the public an opportunity to give public comments.
All right. Yeah, and to further add to that, Mr. Medina, only the board has the power to vote to go into executive session. The CABE could recommend whatever they want. I mean, a lot of things CABE recommended that we're not doing. Cape also recommended that bylaws that passed are actually the bylaws in effect, but they've never been posted to the website. So I mean, we can